sure that everybody understands my participation in and Mr. Mayor and I's conversations that started last year in 2022. And unfortunately, that product was a long-running project as a result of those discussions. So,
Okay.
is there anything from me that you need tonight, or any discussion the council needs from me?
Oh, you do agree to pay it?
I'd hope to be able to, yeah.
Yeah. Is it on kind of time, or how are you looking at doing that?
I'll be honest, I don't quite know, because I walked into this year while I was waiting for the state of Montana, a much different man than I am today. I have less money now than I did when I left college back when I was pushing a cop car around the state. So I saved jobs, but I didn't save my family's financing, and I have very little to offer in that return. So I'd like to be able to make an offer to do what I can, but also I'd like consideration for the fact that what could have been a 90-day project took an entire year.
Yeah.
And so, to council, who has the ability to vote on that, your consideration and clemency for my efforts to try and,
What kind of a figure would you be looking at that you could make?
right now it's embarrassingly low. Like I said, I'm more broke than I've ever been in my life.
Excuse me,
We're
I
gonna
think that's,
complete our
that's a no,
conversation
yeah.
with him, and then
Yeah,
we'll
but I
open
mean,
it up.
we're talking.
We'll open it up after we complete our conversation, please.
Yeah.
So I have a couple of questions. One
Yes.
is, did we, as in the city hall, agree not to put a lien on the property? At some point during your and Tim's conversation?
I have no agreement either way, but there wasn't a lien placed on it by the time I separated from the property.
So that's a separate question that I have to the city council, or the city government, is why wasn't a lien placed on this so that the sale of the property would have been tied up and the profits from the sale would have paid for the water bill.
Water bill, yes.
So does anybody have an answer on this side of the table for that?
I think what was happening during that time was that Lacey was tied up with FEMA, and we just didn't get to it. So it, there again, falls back, and it's my responsibility. Didn't happen.
Well, we had several conversations about the wins that we got by collecting bad water
Yes.
bills.
Yep.
And I never ever heard anything come up about this trailer court during those conversations. Did I miss something? Do you remember, Nate,
The only
any
thing
of
I
this
ever-
coming up?
The only thing I ever remember was the very beginning and talking about a different style meter.
Right, but I never heard
I don't
that there was
remember
$11,000
ever being
bill.
About the money that was owed.
This is the same bill that got sent to Lori.
Pardon?
This is the same bill that got sent to Lori that he is talking about.
He's talking about, yeah.
That's the new owner.
No,
No,
Lori,
no,
Lori
one
just
of
owns
the
her
tenants
trailer.
of the
She is a
trailer.
tenant.
Yeah.
Jab Properties is the new owner.
If I may,
Yes.
Mayor, members of the town council, water bills always follow the land. So even if the property transferred without the lien being attached to it, they still are owed by the new owner of the land. And that's in the title commitments, that's in throughout all the transfer documents. So even though it sounds like he's here to wanna pay it, and he obviously can, the new owner of the land would still be responsible.
And we can lien
Yeah.
the property.
Absolutely. You can put it still put a lien on the land.
That was gonna be my question. I'm Gail Young. We bought the
Were
property
you
that
finished,
we
by the
own.
way?
Yeah, I mean,
That's my question, is that we had that same situation when we
Yeah.
bought our property. We went through a title company. The title company had to clear it and do in order to release the $10,000 that the previous owner owned on our property. So that was gonna be my question, is exactly that.
the water bills always follow the land.
Okay,
So the new owner of the land is on the hook.
okay.
That would be
Did you
the-
realize that, sir?
No, and I'll say the title work, because there was no lien present, is quite to the contrary. And so the new purchasers of the land are uninformed, and the title insurance would be what comes into effect to make sure that that's attended to.
That's not our responsibility.
I understand that, and it's therefore not mine either, but I have representations to my buyers that are different than that. So,
Well, I suggest that we put a lien on the property immediately. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but $11,000, it doesn't sound like you're in a position to pay it.
I'm not, no.
And if we don't cover our ass, we're in a position to lose the whole damn thing. So that property should be liened tomorrow.
Since the new owner is responsible, right?
Correct. Water bills follow land.
Brian Jones, I guess I have a question for the attorney is for, so when we purchased our property.
I'm sorry, does this pertain to this same thing that we're talking about?
Yeah,
Okay.
and then I'm trying to go to how the water bill is how he's saying to allow you to know as a seller, when we went to go do our title deal, that was the very first thing. Now whether, however the communication goes between you as a seller and the title company, it came up right like that. Now I do not know if you had a lien against that property.
No, we did not.
No.
But it came directly up, and that was
And
in
there was
our
a lien
negotiation
on your
of how we
property.
purchased the
Yeah.
property, that
Yeah,
that
that's
had
a
to be
different
paid.
deal than
There
this
wasn't a
situation.
lien.
Oh,
It was just the
there
county,
wasn't?
no,
Have
you
something
guys
like
said
that.
that they owed this
Okay.
much, $9,987.
It had to be
And the
cleaned
title
up.
company said this was owed, and we said this, we're not we won't pay
Yeah.
until that's cleared up.
Okay.
They cleared it up, we paid for the
So,
property.
like I said, we need to get a lien on that property tomorrow. If that can be done.
Yes, highly likely. There might be some issues, very, very few exceptions, but it's extremely likely, it's very.
Now,
very
if
long.
you'd like to work out something with the new owner, we're out of the picture at that point.
You're off the hook.
And
Well,
you're-
I'm not trying to skirt obligations here, that's
No.
not who I am as a man. So, I feel strongly about it, but I have no pull on your abilities. I'd negotiated very early and in good faith to try and carry this project out.
Right.
I was given deadlines that were well inside of what we had here, and it happened that these guys essentially came to my rescue. And they saved 50 jobs by willing to buy it at liquid prices, because I could make payrolls because of it. I think it's a pretty sorrow kick between the legs that they're gonna get from me for having come to my aid.
Well, I hope you understand our position as well.
I do,
This
but if
town
I
has
look at,
very little monetary,
understood. But if I look at whose actions were involved and the timelines involved in this, I furnished things as soon as I could, as clearly as I could, and as often as I could in written correspondence and communications, and nothing was done while this racked up,
yeah.
under the understanding that at some point I'd have the opportunity to come here and negotiate with council about what was owed. It happened that during that time, I had my corporate implosion and fell on my times that are what they are, but that forced the sale. And so now, the last involved party who had nothing to do with this is downstream of the turd that's floating down the river, and he's gotta catch it. I can't make sense of that.
Well,
Especially not when, and I'll say this, it
there's
was the
several
actions
things
of
about this
employees of the
situation
city.
I'm not comfortable with.
Sure.
As a council member. I'm not comfortable with the conversation that you and the mayor had that wasn't made privy to the rest of the council. And that's not something that should have happened.
And I'm aware of
If
that.
he made promises to you that you could not make payments and rack up $11,000 and with the hopes that your position would change, then I think that's maybe a little irresponsible on his part,
That's not the understanding.
okay? But the city's got
That was being
$11,000
made, yeah.
on the hook. And we're gonna collect it, one way or the other.
Well, not mine to testify in, I just have my opinions.
Yeah.
But I would say staff of the city and elected officials of this town were engaged in good faith dealings with me, whether that's allowed or not allowed by this council, that's not my business. And I participated fully and honestly in getting all the equipment, all of the opportunities and all the sign-offs, as well as facilitating all of the members signing up as soon as available to have water bills going to them. And my residents were made known immediately upon my taking control of the park that it would become their obligation to pay the bills as soon as town had done it. And so essentially within 45 days of my acquiring the property, we sat waiting for town to do this. And then the last person in the project is the new buyer, and they're the one that gets stuck with it. Actions of city staff, not doing that. Actions of city staff, actions of city government were involved in this from the very beginning, and now we're gonna pass it on the guy that came in to save the day on a healthcare company. It's not mine to make a position on. I understand what the law is and how it follows, but sometimes in Montana we do what's right, not what's legal. And I think I would strongly encourage you guys, considering that the fault of this thing racking up as large as it was, considering the amount of facilitation that I provided, and the lack of obligation to somebody who came in to make this purchase, should at the very least not be on him, certainly not on the tenants, and I would hope with some clemency, at least discounted on my behalf. But you'll get to choose what you do.
The water bills were accruing for over a year.
Well, I called or sent emails on a monthly basis asking when this project would be completed.
And you knew at that time that the bills were accruing, and you didn't have the foresight to put money aside to take care of those bills, even though you didn't have a dollar amount in front of you?
Nope, I had a dollar amount in front of me every time. And I had put money aside on every occasion.
Okay,
But when it came to my transfer, and with no liens against the property, and my need to make payroll to keep jobs, I made payroll.
okay.
Because my company was on fire.
At the expense
and
of
going
the
down.
water bill.
What's that?
At the expense of the water bill.
Yeah.
To the long-term accrual at the fault of the staff of this institution.
Well, I don't know that I would put 100%.
I would, and I've got the documentation. If we need to be that frank, I have a pile of emails and phone calls from me to this town on an absolute monthly basis saying, where is this project? And Harley and I talked every other week at one point. We were getting really familiar. I was anticipating the due date. I mean, I have on my side pushed this, except for the fact that I can't come down here and ring that stuff up myself.
Okay.
And I'm sorry to be so frank.
Oh,
But
no,
I am not
I
laissez-faire in my
appreciate that.
ownership of properties or companies. And I don't, again, if it's due to anybody, it's due to me. And then at that point, I feel like this was probably a 90-day project, tops. And I waited, and waited, and waited.
Anybody else have any questions?
No, but as a mayor, then it's my responsibility. That's why I asked, what offer would you be willing to make? Out of that $11,000, did you pay the entire $11,000 and make payments on it?
I absolutely don't have that. I don't have that. My company's being managed by somebody else, and my 5 years worth of non-salary work will be liquidated for $25,000. I don't have that.
So our only option is to collect it from the next guy down.
Right.
Or write it as a loss and acknowledge that
I have
you're.
the-
I know.
On the paperwork that she gave you, it says on there that some of those bills go back to 2018
No,
and
no,
2017.
No, the last payment on any of those bills was of 1/10/23. It is on every single one of those bills in front of you. The three that were meant for him, the last payment was 1/10/23.
Looks to me like the only recourse we have is to lien the property. That's my vote.
What do you guys think?
The lien on the property goes against if they resell,
Right.
Yeah.
so.
We might not see it for 100 years, but at least this situation won't happen again.
That's our standard.
Excuse me, Mayor. I have a question on this, on the lawyer. So when you sell a property, if this, something like this is missed, is that not the title company's responsibility? They're supposed to, I thought that when you buy and sell
Yeah,
property,
like-
the title company, I thought they were supposed to go in and investigate to make sure there was no outstanding debts.
I thought so too.
So I don't answer questions, unless the city council or the town council would like me to.
Go ahead.
Yeah. In the title commitment, you're correct, the title commitment, they look at all the liens of record. And so you see, the first 6 of them are standard conditions in a title commitment. For example, taxes is not of record, things like that, patents. And then the last, whatever, however long, are actual liens that are on the title. However, there's a provision, and I would put a lot of money, because it's in every title commitment I've ever seen, says that liens that are not of record yet from governmental organizations, whether that's taxes, water bills, those always follow the land. And you run into this a lot where situations like that occur where people have unpaid water bills for years, and you bought the land, you bought the problem.
Yeah.
And that's just straight Montana black letter law. It's not.
Okay.
Tammy?
Okay, so then
guess
this
I'm
is a
not-
follow-up, only if they approve, because this is not the first time this has happened in town with people selling land, and then in those cases, the town ate it. Can you go back on those, that if they're like 4 years old?
I am
Can
not
you
aware
answer?
of who.
I can answer the
Oh, yeah,
question. It's up
yes,
to
Go
you.
ahead, answer.
Please.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
I caught that.
It depends. The situation is depends. It depends if the town has formally said that they will not go back on it. And then when you say they ate the cost, if the town has formally said that we will not go after you in any type of resolution or ordinance or just discussion, then that would be binding.
No, it was not said that way. It was just said, we can't do anything because we can't build the new people, and it was just dropped.
That sounds like a discussion.
It sounds like it would be a great thing to look into further.
Okay, okay, thank you for your honesty. Appreciate it.
Do we have anything else?
How long do you want me to go? I do have one more thing. I would like to know, what is our stance on ordinances?
What is our, what,
Stance on the ordinances.
stance on the ordinances?
Are you going to follow them or not?
Gonna do the best we can with them, yes. Why?
Well,
What
an
seems to be
example?
the
Oh,
question?
I've got several examples. And
You
I
have
don't
3
mean-
minutes.
I don't mean to put the mayor on the spot. Your ex-wife's daughter lived in a camper, which was against town ordinances for over 2 years. We have a gentleman living down here at the old gas station, living in a camper, which is against town ordinances. We have a camper down here on East River Street. People are living in there, which they said they were gonna be there just for a few months, no more than a year, while they built their houses. Yet their camper's tied into sewer and water.
They do get a bill.
I understand that.
Is
I'm
the-
talking about the ordinances though. You set the
Now,
standard though.
yeah, now the ordinances, I've looked for where it says we can live in a camper. I can't find it. If you could find that ordinance,
Well, you kicked one guy out of here because he was living in his camper.
who was that?
Little Joey. He lived down there on whatever it was. Little-
No, he was lived right here behind off Third Street.
Hmm?
Yeah.
But the ordinance is, my understanding, the ordinance was you cannot live in a camper in town.
That's
I
kind
had
of my
not-
impression as well.
Yeah.
I thought that, but because when the flood hit, we had a lot of people living in campers around their houses. But
I think we
been
could
able
make
to-
an exception in that case.
yeah, but I haven't been able to find an ordinance that says you can't live in a camper.
Can I ask a question, Gail? So we live in our camper while we're building our house, and you'd have to search back on it, but when we came to you guys with our plans and everything, we said we were living in a camper, and I could be wrong, but it was either you or you that said, we can't find anything in an ordinance that says you cannot live in a camper while building your house.
That part I agree with on that one.
But how,
They've
is there
allowed
like
that.
a ordinance that says
I
you
have to
can?
go through, I mean,
No, I
can't-
mean, I looked
couldn't
for it
find
too,
in the
just in
ordinances. And doesn't mean it's not there.
Yeah, I looked
When you
too
look at
before
the
we did it.
ordinances though. But if there is, you know, and if they live in a camper, they're paying a water, or should be paying a water and sewer.
Not always. Not always.
They should be.
No, they shouldn't be, of course. If it's even legal to do.
Would you check on that, Dennison?
Absolutely.
Because there are several around town.
You have a
And
little
we
more
would have to make
time,
an
Mike, if
exception.
you've got any more. Okay.
He's not done yet, sorry.
Go ahead.
Mike.
Okay.
I was gonna say, if you're gonna change that on us right away,
No,
then
we're
we're gonna
not.
get into
No.
a lot of bit
No,
of
no,
other
that's,
stuff.
and that part there, it was like the same with one down here.
Yeah.
When they come in, they approach, they were building their house, they asked, they said, hey, we're gonna be building a house.
That was
We need
3
to-
years ago.
Exactly,
Yeah.
then that's my point. We were gonna build, they said it was gonna be a few months, it would be no more than a year. It's been
Right.
3 years
And nothing's changed.
and nothing's changed.
Right. So if we do have an ordinance, they would be a
Exactly.
prime target.
Your position there is totally within what they, within agreements on. That's not
I think
at all
I
what
can't
I'm saying
find
at
where
all.
it says yes or no.
We can
Yeah,
get
we
our
need to find it
search
if
into
it is. And our attorney will
We're trying.
research that and find it.
Yeah.
Trust
And then if we have to, then we can go and as a group, make exceptions.
Correct. That's why we get the big money.
Yeah. To make the exceptions to that, because there are some in town that we would like to, and Mark and I have been working to try to get their areas cleaned up and the campers moved and things like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like,
Sure.
there's one place down here, why don't you set a year on these trailers, at least if you're gonna let them live in them? Cause they got junk ones right next to the one they're living in.
Mhm.
I mean, they're just bringing trash in, and if you guys wanna make the city look pretty, you can't allow that stuff.
I agree.
Yeah.
There is an ordinance on age inside the city for the age of trailers, but everything that
Yeah.
pre-existed the date of the
Right.
ordinance filing is
Grandfather.
grandfathered in. And so new trailers coming in and new developments and trailer parks can include campers and cannot include trailers that are over 25 years of age.
And don't have a foundation. There's something in there about a foundation as well,
On,
on the new trailers.
This is just a camper trailer next to the one he's
I
living
think
in.
it's Carbon County zoning on that, and I think their zoning laws for on-frame.
Didn't we have a issue with
Yeah.
McNeely when he brought that trailer in, that he had to have
Certain
a
Said they have a certain frame underneath it.
frame underneath? And that was,
Certain foundation and everything.
and that was an ordinance, I
Yeah.
assume.
Yes, it was. With your trailer stuff, it's really a thick part of the ordinance book, when you start getting into trailer parks and trailers. A lot of rules.
Anything else?
Any other questions? Mr. Joe?
Not yet, I'm on the agenda. I'm waiting.
Opportunity to move along.
Okay, let's go ahead. We are going to approve the minutes for the August 2023 meeting.
I make a motion to approve the minutes for August 23.
Second motion.
We have a motion and a second to approve the 2023 meeting minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
Approve the claims.
And I will make a motion to approve the claims for August 23.
And I'll second that motion as well.
We have a motion and a second to approve the claims for August 2023. All in favor?
Aye.
Approve the payroll summary.
Make a motion to approve the payroll summary for August 23.
I'll second that as well.
We have a motion and a second to approve the payroll summary for August 2023. All in favor?
Aye.
New business, zoning application.
Yeah.
What do we got there?
Which one are we looking at? Josh? Joshua Cox? Is that the first?
The zoning application, Harley, is that the first one, is Joshua?
Lacey did them for me.
Okay, so the first one on my list is Joshua.
Joshua C. Cox.
To our 102 Lovers Lane.
Yes. He's putting in a garage. That's down there, he built that log house.
Mm-hmm.
And I put a shop in back there. I went back and looked. I didn't have a tape measure, but look where the
Offsets.
offsets pretty good.
And it looks as though the garage is gonna be lived in as well, the shop?
No,
No?
no.
Okay. So there won't be
There's
a
a-
residence on the property once the old house is removed?
There is
No.
a residence, they got a brand new house.
Well, what is the,
It's another building back there.
There's
I
no
only
house
see
on
There's
there.
an old house right there
I only
also.
see two on this rendering. I see a garage 20 by 20 and a house 20 by 40.
He just doesn't have the old
He
house
just
on there.
didn't put the old house on
Okay.
That
there.
he's tearing down.
Okay. So where does the old house sit on this lot?
Skirted.
It's a house.
Told him I should have drew the picture. He never.
Yeah, 'cause it's, I'm gonna have to go back down there and look.
Okay. Well, I guess it
It's
doesn't
not.
have any really effect on whether we approve it or not, if it's gonna go bye-bye,
Right.
right?
Yeah. Can tear it down. I can't recall.
And the total coverage on the property is gonna be 20%? Is that correct?
That's what it looks like, yes.
Okay. And that's well within the parameters?
Yes.
I'm making I guess we should ask if there's any
My only
questions.
quick question is, I thought it was 15 feet on all sides, that's only one question.
Your street side, your wall building on the street side has to be 15 feet back.
What about on property line?
On the property line, it has to be 6 feet.
Oh, perfect. There you go.
Okay, so we're good. Any other questions?
Very well.
Yeah.
Does anybody else have any questions? Okay.
I make a motion to approve.
And I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the zoning application permit for Joshua L. Cox. All in favor?
Aye. I'm knocking this out.
Public Works Director is not here tonight. Did you hear from Mark?
Yeah, he is at, the fire hall training.
Okay.
So we have this business license to talk about first though, don't we?
Let's keep going.
Yeah, we do business license application.
That is for Daniel. Is Daniel here? Okay. You've been in front of the council before, have you not?
I have not.
Oh, okay. Didn't we have somebody in here?
That was the older gentleman that wanted to do reload.
Yeah, okay. Different,
Yeah.
altogether different?
Different guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be good. There's, have a good
That's Smith?
license over there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is at 9 Mines per Loop,
8.
8
Yeah.
Mines per Loop. And what type of business is it again? If you could explain a little bit more in detail?
Sure.
Please.
We have a type 01, which is firearm sales. We also have a type 06, which is ammunition manufacturing. That sounds big, but it's not. Primarily a gun show internet business. I would anticipate very little local, type business coming to the residents. It's literally to get established. My wife has started looking into grants, federal grants in town. I'd love to, open up a shop, but we need a grant to get going. Actually, talked to a gentleman south of here, and I said, you know, it'd be really cool if there's, you know, the town, I'm brand new to the town, it'd be really cool to see business kind of revitalized. I got laughed at, and I'm not from here, I didn't like that. So, I really, you know, I'd really like to see this town grow. I come from a small town, and, you know, I moved here, I saw potential.
So how long have you lived in Fromberg?
2 months.
2 months, okay?
It's kind of the house across from us here,
It's right on the corner.
right on the corner.
Is that where
National-
Fred and,
Yeah.
Fred and Aaron's next door.
right,
Yep.
okay.
Yep.
I was wondering what was going on with that. I knew it sold, but I hadn't seen anybody in it.
We're working on getting here.
Yeah.
I just brought another load up and drove 1,200 miles to come to this meeting.
So do you have an idea of, you know, what kind of byproducts come from this type of business? Like what's gonna go down the sewer? What's gonna go up into the air?
Absolutely
that type of
nothing in the
stuff?
sewer, and as far as the air goes, I would say it would be negligible.
Okay,
Me, handling,
Yeah.
certainly, yeah, certainly.
And how much materials would you have to keep on? I know Mike is our fire
Sure.
chief,
Yeah,
and
There-
how much explosives would you know, how much powder and things like that?
oh, exactly. It would, you know, the state would require me anyway, and rightfully so, the town fire department. I have to have fire cabinets for anything explosive, so I have to have a separate cabinet for smokeless powder, a separate cabinet for primers. Those are the two things that would be considered flammable. A primer would be considered explosive. You know, and I'm willing to talk about, you know, how much on hand and things like that. That's
is this a business that you've been in before moving to Fromberg?
currently the business is at my son's place in Billings. Gosh, he's out in Briarwood there.
Yeah.
So out in that golf course area.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, so kind of the cart before the horse. I have to, you know, I would have to get permission from the town here to do this in order to get in touch with the ATF
Right.
to set up a meeting.
So are there any laws that you know of that say that this type of business has to be a certain number of feet away from schools and that type of thing?
That's a very good question. Mayor,
'Cause this is very close to the school.
I don't know of any laws that I can think of off the top of my head. Obviously, whatever the town decides, you would also obviously have to obtain the state licenses and also the federal licenses too, which also, most state licenses for the restricted activities put some type of restrictions on schools, but that's on the state level. There's nothing the city town can do to stop that or override that. You would
Right.
have to get those also.
Okay. So we're kind of covered in that regard.
Correct.
Okay. I don't have any other questions.
Anybody else?
Did we get to ask
Do
questions?
we
Of course,
you guys-
we're gonna open it up.